So here's the problem. Universities want to attract the best agencies in the world to bid on their website projects. But since they use RFPs, it's really hard to get the agency to bid correctly. Here are the 7 mistakes we see universities make on their website design RFPs. Mistake number 1, lack of clear goals. A lot of university RFPs are lacking clear, measurable goals. And what that does is it forces the agency to guess. The agencies need to guess and figure out, I wonder what they're trying to accomplish with this website project. It's much easier if the RFP can outline, I'm trying to improve conversion rate, I'm trying to improve SEO, I'm trying to improve my mobile experience, I'm trying to improve any metric that I can. So how to avoid this mistake? We want to put clear goals into the RFP so that the agency can try to hit those. We even want to put benchmark data into the RFP and say, here's where we're currently at for conversion rate, we want to take it to here. Here's where we're currently at for SEO, we want to take it to here. If we know those goals as an agency, we can do a much better job getting you a proposal that's going to hit those goals. Mistake number 2, unrealistic timelines. The RFP will request the agency hit a certain timeline, but often that timeline will miss key parts of a website design project. Examples of that might be the onboarding discovery phase, or it might be the post-launch support phase. And so when they don't look at the full timeline, it makes it hard for the agency to provide a proposal that will be really helpful in hitting the goals and timelines. And that brings us to mistake number 3, not disclosing budget. Most RFPs don't put a budget in them. It makes it very hard for an agency to know what the scope of the project will be and how to bid on it correctly. We have a lot of options as an agency for how we could structure a project, and we really don't know which option we can choose until we know the budget, and the budget will dictate the type of project we can have. When an agency doesn't know the budget, they really have 2 options. They can shoot for the moon and throw a huge budget out there that they think will take care of everything you might ever possibly need, or they can provide a really, really tight scope and say throughout the rest of the project, change order, change order, change order, out of scope, out of scope, out of scope. And from the agency perspective, they didn't have a choice to do that because since they didn't know the budget, they had to provide a really tight scope, which made the rest of the project be very challenging. If universities really want to get the most out of the proposals they're going to get from agencies, just giving a budget range will make all the difference in the world. And that brings us to mistake number 4, not asking about the agency's onboarding and discovery process. The discovery and onboarding process really sets the foundation for the entire project. You want to know as the university how the agency is going to handle your onboarding. You want to know how they're going to handle your discovery. So in your RFP, make sure to ask about that. And that brings us to mistake number 5, not asking about post-launch support. So after a website is launched, is that the end of the project? You should be sure about that with your agency. Make sure to ask them what type of post-launch support is included with this proposal. Here's how to ask agencies about the post-launch support they provide. You want to know, do they specify training? Do they give you training after you launch? What about maintenance packages? Will they maintain the website after its launch? Do you have an in-house team who needs to understand all these things, or are you going to rely on the agency entirely? Those are things that you really need to know before you commit to this project. And that brings us to mistake number 6, failing to plan for multi-site structures. Oftentimes, university websites are made up of lots of smaller websites. Each department has its own site. Each school has its own site, all within the existing university website structure. You need a plan for how to handle that if those sites are going to be included in this build. You want to ask your agency, what is your multi-site approach? What is your management approach? How is the CMS going to handle all these different websites? The ways to avoid this mistake is ask the agency if they even have experience in a multi-site environment. Have they done this type of project before? How many sites have they managed within a website launch in the past? Figuring that out ahead of time will make sure you're not surprised later on. And that brings us to our final mistake, mistake number 7, ignoring the website content strategy. What Vital has found is that on most website projects, the hardest piece to get done is the content strategy. And that means, are we bringing over existing content? Are we writing new content? Are we developing both at the same time? We have to figure all that out and then come up with a migration strategy to move it from the current website to the new website. Content strategy takes a ton of time. So the way to deal with this is to make sure agency has a plan for content migration. Does it start at the beginning? Are you handling it at the end? Are you building content at the same time as you're building the website? You need to ask all those questions and make sure you're really clear about that, because this is the #1 thing that slows website builds down. So that's it. Those are the 7 mistakes that we see universities make when they write RFPs. Go out there, find yourself an agency, scope the project, and have a really successful website launch.